The NRA releasing a statement yesterday calling for a federal review of bump stock regulation. Here it is, the statement. The NRA believes that devices designed to allow semi-automatic rifles to function as fully automatic rifles should be subject to additional regulations. Joining us now, NRA spokesperson Dana Loesch, frequent guest on the show. Dana, there is a difference here between a change in the regulations, which the NRA seems to support, and the legislation by Dianne Feinstein, which is very narrow and geared towards eliminating the bump stocks. Which side are you on here? Do you want the legislation or do you want the regulation?
Well, Stuart, thanks for having me. It's always good to talk with you, although I wish it was under better circumstances because everybody's heart's breaking from after what happened in Las Vegas. And, you know, people just want to be able to keep themselves safe. Look, here's the thing with this. I don't think that millions of Americans, law-abiding Americans, and I will have everyone remember that concealed carry holders have accounted to be the most law-abiding Americans, according to recent studies. They just want to know how to protect themselves, and they don't want to get dragged into Dianne Feinstein's gun control circus. Make no mistake, Dianne Feinstein would ban every single part of a semi-automatic rifle or a semi-automatic firearm, period, if she could. This is where Congress needs to step up and do its job and make sure that Americans' rights are protected. That is what they are elected to do. That is what millions and millions of gun owners elected them to do, Stuart.
But look, if you go on the other side of the fence,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but look, if you go on the other side of the fence, you go with the NRA line here. I don't mean to call it be pejorative, but they want to look at the regulations on the bump stock. Now, look, you can change those regulations.
What's a request for consistency?
But so could a future Democrat president. And in the blink of an eye, they can also just change the regulations. If you go with legislation, you'll require a vote to change the law in the future.
Well, that's where Congress... Look, the NRA is not the ATF. The NRA cannot do the ATF's job. And I think there are some people out there perhaps who think that they can or that they are the same organization, but that's not the case. And I know my friend Mark was on with you earlier talking about this, and I just want to say I love Mark Teasing. We went through election coverage together. Fantastic guy. And I understand what he's saying here. But this is where Congress has to act. This is where Congress needs to make sure that they write a good piece of legislation and that they don't allow American voters to have their rights steamrolled. And again, where it concerns making sure that things are consistent. The ATF hasn't been consistent, Stuart.
So Dana,
they need to do their job, and I'll have you know, they've been inconsistent for the past 10 years, not just on that issue, sorry, but one more, Stuart, not just on that issue, but also on felony prosecutions for gun crimes, felony gun crimes. Look, they haven't been consistent, neither is the judicial system on that.
The issue is bump stocks. If it was tightly written legislation, if it was just banning bump stocks, if you could do it that way, just tightly written, would you vote for it or against it?
Well, I'm not an elected official,
but if you were,
so there's, I mean, I can't say what I would or would. Well, I don't engage in hypothetical arguments either, because we could play if all day
Dana,
long.
Come on,
look, I mean, it's incredibly clear.
This
is why we elect Congress to do this.
Well, I want your opinion.
This is why we elect Congress to do this.
You won't give me your opinion? I want your opinion. Do we ban bump stocks?
What question are you asking?
Okay, if you could get tightly written legislation which simply banned bump stocks, would you support it or oppose it?
Well, I think Wayne LaPierre was incredibly clear last night when he said that the NRA does not support a confiscation, nor does the NRA. They're not asking for a ban. NRA members are not asking for a ban. We're not asking for confiscation. We're asking for ATF to just simply look at the regulations. This is a question of the ATF, whether or not it is doing its job, and consistency here. And that's where this comes in. Mr. LaPierre was incredibly clear when he said this last night. And furthermore, NRA members have been incredibly clear on this as well. What isn't clear, Stuart, is where Congress is. What isn't clear is the job that Congress needs to do. What isn't clear is the consistency, or rather lack thereof, from the ATF these past 8 or plus years. That's where our focus is. Look, like I said, we can talk about things that can be done. We can talk about the system that failed. Universal background checks failed in California, Stuart. They failed twice in California. We can talk about the system that failed in Charleston with the murderous racist thug Dylan Roof, where you had FBI Director James Comey come out and say, you know what, it was was a, quote, clerical error that resulted in this murderous thug and his ability to purchase a firearm. It was our mistake. I'm going to tell you, Stuart, people want to protect themselves from the monsters. And you know what? We want to be able to protect ourselves because the system that we are told to trust in is not doing it for us. This is where Congress needs to act. This is where the ATF needs to do its job.
OK, I hear you. Dana Loesch, always a pleasure. Thanks for being with us, Dana. Good stuff. Thank you.
Good to see you, Stuart.
Sure.
Thank you.